Okay, let's bring in our good friend Eleanor Clift for a closer look at President Biden's proposed budget. She's a political columnist for the Daily Beast. Always a pleasure to have you. Thanks for taking time.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the main takeaways and how critical it is for Biden to push this through now, considering he could lose one or both houses in the upcoming midterm elections.
Well, the key takeaways are that the president believes that a White House expresses its values through its budget priorities. And so you can see throughout this budget, the president trying to enact boosts in social spending, spending to curb climate change, priorities that he put in place in his campaign when he was running for president, and that he has so far been unable to enact through legislation. He also has proposed a billionaires tax. Again, this is something he talked about as a candidate and has tried to enact legislatively and has not been able to get full support from his own Democrats, much less Republicans. And the top line of that would be a 20% minimum tax on the richest 22,000 families, 0.01% of earners. This all sounds promising, the numbers, the money that would be gained, and there is an element of fairness to it because this money is accumulated by wealthy people because they accumulate assets, and they're not taxed until they sell those assets. And in many cases, they don't ever sell their assets. They pass them down in their family, and so they avoid taxes completely. So he's trying to fix that loophole, if you will. But this budget proposal is merely a blueprint, and I wouldn't be surprised if when Congress gets to it, they call it dead on arrival. That's kind of standard procedure.
It makes the rest of our interview kind of moot, but let's kind of push forward here, because taxing the rich always sounds great to a lot of people around the U.S. But realistically, as you mentioned, can Biden pull this off? There are a lot of powerful rich people who aren't going to part willingly with 20% in taxes.
That's exactly right. And the president has tried to sell this, arguing fairness, and he has not been successful. The other way he could sell it is to say, you know, the government needs the money, and this would raise billions of dollars. And so the government is scrimping, for example, on COVID relief. They've run out of money. They're not sure they can pay for the booster dose, fourth booster dose or fourth shot that many people are going to need. So maybe he can try that. But the politics in this country are so poisonously partisan that I would be surprised if the president gets much of anything out of his priorities in this budget.
Now, we talked about some of the social measures, climate change and other issues, but there's also a lot of money for military spending. And this is the kind of thing that many lawmakers can go back to their constituents and say, we need this to protect the United States and protect our young men and women in uniform. Is this hike needed, and will it go through?
Well, with the war going on now, with Russia having invaded Ukraine, and this country's pretty strong position as to where they stand on that, and the beefing up of NATO, the stabilizing of NATO, you're not going to hear much talk out of any administration, Democratic or Republican, of cutting back on military spending. And also, various armaments are made, you know, throughout the country. So many members of Congress, senators, members of the House, have a personal stake. It creates jobs in their district. So defense spending goes up, and nobody's making any kind of argument that we're spending more than we need to spend. You're not going to hear that at all.
Exactly. Now, and money for Ukraine, is it there, and how popular is this going to be?
I think the money is there for Ukraine, and right now it's a very popular endeavor, although I think your White House reporter mentioned inflation, the scourge of inflation, and that's most noticeable at the gas pump. And so people are full of good intentions, but then they get frustrated when their own costs go up and they're paying more for a gallon of gas. So I think, you know, right now there's very strong support for Ukraine, and I don't see that fading in the immediate future, but depending how long the war grinds on, Americans are going to want to pay attention to their own economy as well.
Well, Eleanor, thank you so much. Our thanks to Eleanor Clift, political columnist for the Daily Beast.
Thank you.